Well, hello, and welcome back to the Tula Community Podcast. Now, there has been one single time in recording these podcast intros that I have done it in like a single attempt. I just recorded it. It was the first take, and that was just what I was able to use for the intro and to share the things I needed to share. And what a pleasure that was, you know? What an absolute joy it was to just record one thing. I was very proud of myself. And that has not been the case for this intro at all. I'm actually on a completely different day than when I started my recording of this intro for this episode. So I recorded it yesterday morning, which was a wonderful rainy Sunday morning, which just had, it's got the great chill Sunday morning vibes. I just couldn't seem to get it down, and I had to record it in two parts. Then this morning I woke up and I was like, I feel as though I just need to do it again. And not only do I need to do it again, but I missed some points that I wanted to make. And, this podcast is truly one of my greatest joys and something I feel that I really wanted to do. And when I am in the creation process of doing it and sitting down with people and recording these episodes, I am happy that I took the leap to do this. It is a lot of behind the scenes work. I have been meaning to share the list of what this actually takes. It is all encompassing. It is probably one of the biggest amounts of work I've ever put into anything just for a single episode. It takes a lot energetically, I will say. But I'm honored to do the work. I'm happy to do the work. It's a zero issue for me, but as it's grown and, with time and of course wanting to progress and become, quote unquote better, there's lots to do. There's lots to do, So thank you for being here and in support of this this immense work that we're in. So in this episode, I talked to Robyn, who, to be honest, I don't really know where the connection started or how we got involved in each other's circles, so to speak. I know it came from Instagram, but I could not tell you how, where, who found who. I don't even know. And I think it's roughly been about 2 years since we've been connected. But, I had just been following her. She follows me. We chat a little bit. And I think some of what really drew us to each other, or just, my point of view from what she was sharing, was that at the time when one of us followed each other, she had just been diagnosed with cancer. Now, we don't talk about that in this episode, which I thought that we probably would touch on, but we didn't at all. And I think it was shortly before that my mom was diagnosed with cancer and had already started her process through chemotherapy and that really intensive, heavy medical process of going through chemotherapy and losing your hair and all of the emotional aspects of that and the energetic expenditure and what it takes from you. If anybody's witnessed that, it's a lot. And Robyn was going through, basically the same thing. And I can't speak for her, of course, but I did end up sending her, some messages in that time, just because I was just witnessing it from the outside perspective, and I wasn't on the inside, but I knew a little bit, and we chatted here and there, and I was always, just feeling as though I was in her corner, of course, and wanted her to know that, we are with her through that, So I think that that's a lot of how we ended up creating some sort of a connection or a bond, and happy to say that both my mom and her are, in this place of remission, and, so far so good, and we only wish for the positive things and all of the healing and health to take place. So this episode is also found on YouTube, so I have always posted the audio to YouTube, but now, fortunately enough, again, through growth, and developing, it's always been part of my plans and thoughts to record actual video of the episodes, but for that I need another person to kind of sit behind the camera, press record when we run out of time, make sure everything's looking okay. And we have to give a shout out and kudos to Hannah, who is here as our operations assistant. I'm so grateful for her. And this is our first time recording video of an episode that also includes a guest. So if you do want to watch it on YouTube, you're more than welcome to. We had a few little choppy points because the camera we're using, we're not videographers, we are photographers. So it's not really a video camera. So it does a good job, but it's not there to do that specific job. But either way, we're happy with that. And it's nice to sit down and have something to actually watch. So if you want to watch it on YouTube, go ahead and do that. So thank you so much, Hannah, for showing up for us and supporting me in this work. I really appreciate it. I will share a little bit about Robyn here and, of course, link all of her links below as we do. Robyn is an ecosomatics educator with a background in environmental studies and social work. Her work focuses on the intersection of somatics, nervous system tending, and nature connection. Robyn emigrated to Canada from the UK at age 20 and came into a profound love of nature through exploring wilderness. She has spent thousands of hours of direct communion with nature across Europe and North America. When she is not walking in wild places, she is mothering her 3 daughters and teaching ecosomatics through her school, Awaken to Nature. Okay, so all links found below, Instagram, website, if you want to connect with her. And if you feel a pull and a connection through this episode, of course, I would highly recommend you connect with Robyn, who is a very gentle and wonderful energy to be around. So we are in full support of her work, and we need more nature. Everybody needs more nature. And then my last thing to share. So we have received, which I gotta call it, I don't know, like, do we have to call it our 6th and final partnership? Oh my gosh. If you have been here for a little while, you'll know in one episode or something like that, I had mentioned that when we had partnered with our 3rd and final company, I don't even remember what the company was, that I was just really grateful that we received this final affiliate code and marketing and, our 3rd sponsor, and that I was just really aiming for the goal of having 3 people or 3 brands to connect with and whatever, And somehow, I don't really know how it's all happened, but now we have 6. So this is our 6th and final partnership. I'm not sure. But it feels really, really important for me to only connect with and partner with companies that I know intimately, or that I'm connected with, or that I actually use the product. I am not in any place whatsoever to ever be inauthentic to you and tell you to use this product or buy this thing. And I haven't even used it myself, just for the sake of, capitalism and making money and things like that. I don't live like that. And some of these brands, like, I'm really honored that they want to partner with me, because I don't have a ton of followers and following, like it's just not the place that I'm in. I'm not looking for thousands of people that I don't even know that witness what we do here. I look for true connection and real people behind the screens, and to work with people that I can legitimately connect with. So our 6th, hopefully, and final sponsor is a company called Everist, which they have a few different products, but I have been using for just under a year now their shampoo and conditioner. And they're a Canadian-owned, women-founded, women-owned company. And their product had this wonderful marketing campaign full of truth, not from a place of, again, like inauthenticity from them. With this waterless, really new and innovative product that is full of legitimately wonderful ingredients that I was pulled to, because the ingredients have things like glycerin and aloe and rosemary and pumpkin seed oil and all of these things that I've already actually been using and utilizing for my own hair growth and health. So when I saw the marketing campaign, I saw that they are environmentally conscious because their packaging is primarily made of aluminum, and they have just one single plastic cap, which you could actually send back to them to reuse if you want to, and that they are really environmentally forward, even in their packaging, and it's made from recycled paper and things like that. And I was just really impressed with whatever they were sharing, and you could tell that the product was genuinely good, but I didn't purchase it for a while. It was just sitting in the back of my mind. I was like, yeah, I think I need to, I want to try that. But I'm not really deeply immersed in the product world and game. I just don't, I don't consume that much. I do like to buy things. I love a good product. I love seeing new things. But, I did feel in a place of ease and knowing with what I was using before, which was also like a natural organic shampoo and conditioner. But I knew I needed to buy it. I just wanted to try it. I was very curious to see this. I don't know. I just love like an innovative new product created by women. It's nothing like it, And so I bought it, and yeah, it's been just less than a year, and it's in the form of a concentrate, and that's an aspect of it being waterless. And so you don't use very much. And so the tubes that I had, I didn't use them all the time. I still would occasionally use the other product I had. But the 2 tubes that I purchased lasted me, I would say, probably about 8 months, which I was pretty impressed by. Like, I just feel like that's a long time, And so, I emailed them and I said, listen, I've been sharing your product for about a year. I've been genuinely using it. People are complimenting my hair unprompted. I'm not mentioning it. I'm just here talking on my Instagram stories as I do, sharing whatever I'm sharing. And people are saying to me, wow, your hair looks really healthy lately, or your hair looks so good, or it looks really well hydrated, or a lot of people are telling me that it looks darker, which I haven't colored it. I think it's just because maybe it's just more well nourished. I don't know. But anyways, I told them that I've been sharing the product, that I don't have a lot of followers, that we have a Pinterest that does like a decent amount of numbers every month, and that I would love to be involved with them because I believe in the product and I use it. And so they replied, they were so kind, and they said yes. I was okay, perfect. So my code is just my name, just Whitney by itself, and you get 10% off. And if you want to use it, I would recommend it. I would actually highly recommend it, and they have a few different products that I've yet to try. I don't know if I'll purchase many of them. I don't like to buy like a lot of things all the time, but they do have a body wash, and they just released this sleep soak for your bath, which seems curious, but I don't have a bathtub, so so it's not very helpful to me, but maybe you'd be keen on something like that. But okay, thank you so much for this single take intro. I can't believe it. I really hope I don't remember later on that I forgot something, but it's fine. But yeah, I really hope that you enjoy this episode. And again, thank you so much for being here and for your support. All right, welcome to the Tula Community Podcast. I'm so happy to be sitting here with you. And we've already spent a little bit of time together doing our photos pre-podcast. So I feel like we've already done a mini podcast before even getting to do this actual real podcast. So if you'd like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your work.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really lovely to be here with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, so nice. We're happy to be here because it's taken us a little while to connect in person.
Yes.
After all these, I think it's been about 2 years, maybe just under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be something around that for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now is the time.
Now
it's
is the
perfect
time.
Timing.
So
yes.
Yeah, whatever you want to share about yourself, Robyn.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so my name is Robyn, and I'm an Ecosomatics educator. So my work centers around teaching embodied nature connection. And I offer workshops and full programs and experiential classes through that lens of how are our bodies responding to nature, what are the felt sensations that arise within us when we are in the natural world. And that's really my big focus right now with my work.
Right. Mm-hmm. And this came to you in what way? Did you find that you were doing a few other types of things that you were leading, and then eventually you found yourself down this ecosomatics path? Or have you been kind of doing this even for yourself for a long time?
Well, there's a long answer.
Yeah, of course. Well, perfect. We got time.
there's a really long answer. Yeah. So I've definitely been really interested in nature connection for a very long time. And I came to ecosomatics through nature connection primarily because I find it really interesting to look at how people come to the world of ecosomatics, because it's a blend of somatic practice and nervous system work and nature connection. And usually people come in from one of those worlds, either somatic therapy or nature connection. For me, I came to it through nature connection initially. I emigrated to the west coast of Canada when I was 20 and had a really profound spiritual awakening to nature when I came here.
Yeah.
As we know, it's just so beautiful, it's so magnificent.
Yeah.
And the presence of nature here it's so strong, and it just really awakened this deep love of the natural world in me. And that was 20 plus years ago. And since then, I went on to study social work, and I worked as a therapist for a few years, and I realized that somatic work was so important in therapy. It's, talk therapy it's really important, and it's an incredible modality, very complex, there's a lot to it with talk therapy, but I did find with a lot of my clients there's only so far you can go with talk therapy. And going into somatics and embodiment practices and nervous system tending was so, it's so transformational for people to be coming at it from an embodied lens of healing and trauma processing. And so when I started to get more into the world of somatics, because of that reason, I then was able to see how important it was to bring in the nature connection component as well. So that's really how I came to it, and it's been many years journey to get there, but the field of ecosomatics is really exciting for me. It's quite new, it's kind of an emerging field right now, and it's super exciting because nature is so powerful in somatic work and healing.
And that kind of I don't know, I feel like talk therapy is not all encompassing. Like you're missing some layers if you're like just doing talk therapy. You're not getting like this whole kind of, again, like holistic approach to healing and all of those things. And so where were you born? Where were you born again?
Yeah, I was born in London, in England.
Right, okay. And did you spend the first 20 years of your life roughly like in the UK or there?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I grew up I grew up in Cambridge. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right, and then when you came to BC and you were in the forest, what did you feel was... Because, for me, it's like I've been here my whole life, and of course, yes, I've been immersed in the forest here, and I know it so well at this point kind of thing, but I don't have this, it's almost like a different type of approach. You've got this, pulled back view of what the forest feels like and looks like compared to, where you were from. So what's the feeling when you walk into the forest in BC?
Yeah, I love that question a lot. It's very, very meaningful for me. Yeah, so where I grew up in England, I really appreciate it now, but when I was growing up, there's not the same kind of beauty where I grew up as there is here. Like, I grew up in an area that's known as the Fenlands in Cambridge. It's very flat, it's marshland, it's all grasses and rivers and reeds and all of that, and you could look at that and be like, this is a really boring landscape, like it's not very inspirational. It does have its own beauty that I actually appreciate a lot more now. But at the time when I was growing up, I didn't really see it as particularly compelling or beautiful. So coming to the West Coast was like, it was like being knocked out because it's so stunning. Like it's like you're in a postcard the whole time. It's, the mountains, the huge trees, the ocean. You have these creatures like orcas and black bear, and it's epic. And it's so wild here as well. England is obviously like a really small island, or it's part of a small island, and it's been cultivated over thousands of years agriculturally. It doesn't have that same feeling of wildness. And coming to the West Coast, it's just wild. Like you can be out in the middle of nowhere really fast here and just be surrounded by wild nature.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, of course.
That feeling,
And does it feel like in England there's not a lot of things that are feeling untouched? Like it just seems like everything's roughly touched by man, and there's not a lot of things that are just in their natural element and way?
Yeah, for me, I would see it that way. Someone else might have a different perspective on that. And there's also different parts of England too. Where I grew up, it's quite densely populated, and and it's very agricultural, but in some ways it's also beautiful as well, because there's all these elements of the landscape that have been tended for like hundreds and hundreds of years by all the communities that are really beautiful. Like all the hedgerows are very ancient. There's these ancient trackways, and so in that way there's a real entanglement between humans and nature there that is a bit different than here, which is it's very beautiful in its own way, but for me it doesn't have that same sense of like wildness. Yeah,
I could see that, and again, like, I'm from here, so I see it, I can tell that there's like a wildness, but I just don't view it in the same way. But now that you're explaining it, I'm like, yeah, maybe I need to go for a walk in the forest to like look at it in a completely pulled back way, When you came to Canada, what were you doing as a means to like survive and live? Like, what were you doing for work? Were you like involved in this work already, or not really?
No, so my family emigrated. My dad had a job that was on the West Coast, but in California. So we came here to be on the same time zone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we'd already kind of been to the West Coast a lot because of his work. So yeah, when I moved here, I was a student. I went to Cat College, and then I went to UVic.
So nice. And what did you go to school for?
Environmental studies.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense.
But initially, when I was in England, I was studying philosophy, and so I was all set to do philosophy. And also creative writing. I was originally in the fine arts program at UVic, and then when I came here and realized the magnificence of nature, I changed everything. I changed my degree. I went into environmental studies. I started working on an organic farm. Like, it just changed everything. Being here.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, of course. And what do you feel like was the switch for you that you felt, oh, I need to start, or I'd like to start offering something that is, of healing support to people? Because I always feel like there's some sort of a reason. It's like your therapist has been through a lot of trauma in their life, so that's why they like become a therapist, because they know it so well. Or like people that want to heal, they like been through a lot of things, so they know this path and they've walked it themselves. And then they think, well, I would love to offer healing because I know what this is like. And do you feel like there was like a trigger for you where you're like, I would like to support people in their healing journeys?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So when I was about 23, I had come out of a romantic relationship with someone that had really struggled with substance use. And it had been a really difficult relationship. Been together about a year. And I was really devastated at the end of that. I just finished university. I kind of had my heart broken. And I didn't know what I was going to do next, because we were living on Cortez Island at the time.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was really nice.
It was like, despite some of the stuff.
Yeah. It was kind of like this mix of like being really idyllic, but then also there was like a lot of substance use. And so when I came back down to the city and left Cortez and left that relationship, I was really like cracked open. And really sad, and didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have anywhere to live. I didn't have a job. I just finished school. I just left this person that I thought was the love of my life. And I, through kind of a series of synchronistic events, ended up being able to live in a log cabin on Galiano Island, on one of the Gulf Islands. And I lived there alone in a cabin with my dog for 6 months, off-grid. And the amount of trauma healing that I experienced through just spending hours and hours a day in wild nature, it was just so profound. It was like, I feel like that's my origin story, is that I had that time. And I knew at the end of that, so I was like 23, 24, I knew that was going to be my life's work, was the healing power of nature. Because I experienced it so viscerally living there. I was really lucky because this log cabin, it was so cheap to live there. I worked a few hours a week in the pub kitchen on Galiano, so I had enough money and I didn't need much. And the rest of the time I was just in the forest and on the beach and on the cliffs, just for hours and hours a day. And it was the off season, so it was very quiet. There was no one around.
Yeah, there's nobody on the Gulfs if it's not summer, basically.
Exactly. It was January to June.
Perfect.
I left when it was getting busy. And I came to a point where I was kind of experiencing like this ecstatic bliss being in nature all day long. Like I was in this deeply reverent state of like, just, it's hard to describe, but like very deep gratitude. And I just felt like my body was just like a prayer to the natural world. Like I would that was my goal every day. It was just to walk and walk for as long as I could, just in very deep reverence and kind of this blissful state of being, just noticing like the light on the leaves and the waves and like otters swimming by and yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you feel like you were in this deep kind of place of observation, do you feel? Like you feel like you were just like consciously observing what was going on around you and noticing everything?
Yeah, but I was also so much a part of it.
Right.
You know? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I was just taken in by it. So it wasn't just observation, it was so entangled just with who, like the fiber of my being, you know?
Yeah.
I could feel it like in every cell of my body, just this deep state of awe and gratitude, because you're just constantly coming into these moments of immense beauty.
Yeah. Right. And I feel like if there's anywhere that's very healing and powerful, I've had a few friends that have gone to the Gulf Islands and have spent winters there, and I don't know what it is about them, but it changes people so much, and they have these like very powerful, super special, meaningful times there where they just like plant themselves there for 6 months, and like, yeah, you're kind of on your own, like off grid.
Yeah.
There is I don't know, there's like such a powerful energy to the Gulf Islands and what they're capable of doing for us as beings. You know? I don't know what it is, but it's there, you know. I think it's because like all the elements come together. You got like everything there so close.
Yeah,
so
and there's
close.
not much, and it's not very built up. So you're not kind of in the human-made environment.
Yeah.
You're in the forest.
Right.
And so you can directly be with like the energy, the spirit, the intelligence of nature is just, that's what there is. That's what you're interacting with 24/7. And it's really magical. And then you think that's how we were for, hundreds of thousands of years as humans.
Right. Well, pretty much most of our existence as humans, only until this tiny little fraction now, have we been disembodied from that aspect of ourselves, just being connected and one with nature and with the earth.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like such a big shift for us now to all of a sudden have all these things coming at us that are not natural to our human consciousness, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Exactly.
And so what did you do with that? So you left in June, and like what was kind of the next venture for you then? Like were you like, I need to put this into I need to put this into existence, I guess?
It is, but I had a bit of a detour because that's when I met the father of my kids and had my kids.
Right.
So that.
Right. Yeah.
So then I was doing that.
Right. Okay.
Like pretty intensively for a long time. Yeah, I have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
The oldest is 13. So I've been intensively mothering for
the last 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And so then I guess did you just in that time offerings didn't really exist, and only until now you feel like you have the capacity to do so, or were you always kind of like dabbling in some things and trying to like support people?
Yeah. I always, even though I've really loved being a mother, there's always been this part of me that really feels my own purpose and my own work and my own inspiration that I've really had to carve out space for, because I feel like when you cut yourself off from that source of creativity in yourself, it can make you really unwell. So I really did try to carve out that kind of time for myself, but it was a journey, because when it comes to things like therapy or ecosomatics or any kind of somatic work, you have to be licensed. You have to really go ahead and get the education, and you have to become qualified to practice, and I wasn't at that point. So as I had my kids, I went back to school. I went into social work, so I was able to practice some form of therapy and some form of psychotherapy essentially. But it took a long time to do that because I was at school with really young kids. And it took a while. Actually, the thing I went into before I really did that with ecosomatics was I really went back into my ancestral traditions and my animist traditions of Britain and Ireland. Yeah. And spent many years exploring that, which gave me a real depth of anchoring into earth-based cosmologies of nature connection and animism, which are really present in my ancestral traditions. And I felt like I really needed that grounding in something ancient to deepen my understanding of this work. So I'm really glad that I did that first.
Yeah.
And really understood how, certainly my own ancestral traditions have really revered nature. Right. And how we can bring that back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, you know. And so for somebody who wouldn't really understand what ecosomatics really entails, like what would be your way of explaining it, and like the breakdown of what that looks like, and like what it looks like in a program, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, what is that like?
Yes. So my conceptualization of ecosomatics is that we're looking at nervous system tending as supported by our relationship with nature. So there's many different ways to approach nervous system regulation, nervous system tending, somatic work, somatic therapy. With ecosomatics, we're specifically bringing the lens of doing this work as supported and guided by nature connection and relationship with nature. So for me, because it's quite a new field, and I don't think there's like a specific definition for it, because it's kind of emerging, but my own take on it is that we're doing nervous system work in relationship with nature. So we're studying how nature affects our nervous system, how time in nature brings us into states of regulation, or helps support us through times of like really extreme emotions and difficult, challenges in life. All the different effects that nature has on the body and the brain and the nervous system. And so for people that have like a deep love of nature, it's really powerful to bring this into embodied practice. Yeah. And it's huge. It's a huge. The field has so much potential. Yeah, right. Like, it's very powerful. You feel still like untapped and like not being utilized as much as it could be. Do you feel? Yeah. I would say that for sure. And we have a precedent for it with like ecotherapy and ecopsychology, but ecosomatics, we're specifically looking at embodiment. Right. With nature connection. Right. Yeah. And so when like, how long have you been offering this, or putting it together, or sharing about it, or writing about it, or like deeply immersing yourself in that world? How many years has it been now? Yeah. Good question. So I would say it's probably about 2.5 years that I've specifically been bringing forward this body of work, and it's taken me that long to get to a point where I feel confident in bringing forth this specific body of work that I'm in the middle of right now. I feel like that timeline feels really accurate to most of the people that I know that have started to do something or offer something. It's like it takes like this 2 and a bit year mark to feel like I know what I'm doing, and like, how do I want to do it, And I was going to ask you, like, at the beginning when you offered it, like, were you, I don't know, like, did you book like sessions with people and they would kind of come and like do these, I don't know, would you like bring them into nature and kind of guide them in some sort of way? Well, it's funny because I was doing it all online. Yeah, that makes no sense. Right. Yeah. So you would kind of tell them like what roughly to I don't know, look for or do, and then they would go on their own to kind of find that? Yes, so my approach is always blending like the theory behind the concept, and then offering the experiential practice that people can do. We can do it online together, like on Zoom in a circle, or you can take this practice and go and do it yourself wherever you are. And occasionally I do offer in-person programs as well. But I the theory to me is really interesting. I love getting into like the neuroscience of how nature affects the brain and the body, and neuroplasticity in combination with relationship with nature. But then of course the experiential practice is where the work is. That's the actual doing of it. That's where the transformation actually happens. That's where the integration happens. That's the focal point of the practice, is in the body. So I really love to guide people into that online, but then also you can go do this as well. I think it's like most things, people have to do it on their own. Like, no matter what, whatever you're interested in or practicing or healing, there is an aspect of having to find it on their own, with their own time, and with themselves. Like, they have to be alone in nature to really allow that to be absorbed by their consciousness, because you're like a little bit distracted, even if you're with the guide or the teacher that's helping you with that. You're still not really as like maybe moved or tuned into as you could be when you're just by yourself. It's like so much less noise going on, and you don't feel like you need to engage with someone. You're just like with yourself. There's no outside distraction. Exactly. Right? And there's a huge portion of that work that myself or another practitioner can't give you, because it's nature that's ultimately going to be the guide for you. The natural world is so vast. It's so full of intelligence and sentience, so much more ancient than us, has so much more wisdom. You have to build that relationship between yourself and nature to receive all of that. And I'm not the one that's going to give that to anybody. I can show people like some techniques to open up your awareness to be able to receive that. But ultimately, it's the natural world herself that is going to be bestowing that upon you, and you need to start forming that own, that relationship between yourself. And it's going to be unique to who you are. Some people are going to experience connection with ravens. Some people will be the trees. It's going to be so unique to who you are and what you need at that time. That nature is going to meet you.
Right.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense. And when does it kind of go in a way where you kind of have this theory aspect, and then people go on their own into nature and just take in whatever they take in, and then do you have a bit of like a debrief? Your client or whoever comes back to you and tells you what they experienced?
Yes, so absolutely. I really love to follow up with people and hear what their experiences have been, if they feel
like comfortable to do so.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or if they need more support around it, or just because when you have experiences like this, often many of us don't really have someone to go and talk to about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Even though it can be like the most profound thing you've ever had happen in your life.
Right.
It's like, who am I going to talk to about?
And you might understand because you've done it, so it's like, well, I'm coming to you being like, well, you've been there before, how meaningful this experience that I might have had might be,
Yeah.
Right? So it's a little different. So have they ever told you anything? Like, what has been some, like, I don't know, something that they've told you that they experienced, or like feedback that you've even been really surprised by? Have you ever just been like listening to what they've shared and just been like, whoa?
Well, I wouldn't say I've ever been surprised.
Okay.
Because I know I know how powerful it is.
Yeah.
And so if someone comes to me and shares like a really, a deep insight or a profound experience, then it just gives me that greater confidence in the work. Just like, okay, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like reaffirming.
It is, and because I know it's out there for us.
Yeah.
Because that's who we are. We evolved in nature. We're so disconnected. When we start coming back, it's a huge thing for people. So I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I love it. I just love hearing it so much, and I love holding the space for someone to share that, as because I know I'm going to honor that for somebody so deeply. And I love being that person that can be like, yes.
Well, I feel like it's reaffirming for you just as much as you're probably reaffirming them that like their experience was exactly what you maybe even expected, to be like, that's beautiful. You're like you're receiving, like, right?
And how you can find it anywhere, like nature, it's infinite. People can have an experience with anything. It could be like just a piece of bark with the light hitting it a certain way. It's just you happen to be there at that moment.
Well, that's so true, actually. Because I feel like sometimes I'm not like deeply immersed in nature, but I still am moved by an aspect of like even a little plant growing out of the concrete. Like it's still very moving to be like, whoa, look how powerful this thing is. And sometimes I think that the view is that nature is a little bit fragile because you could just cut down the tree, you could just pick the flower, but it's also extremely powerful in just the way that it exists and moves. It's not as fragile as people think, but it has that aspect to it. I think people just maybe take it a little bit for granted and don't like really, really hold in reverence the power that it carries.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know, because I was telling you, I was reading you some of your Substack posts, and you did talk about like neuroplasticity in them, and I'd be curious to know what you can tell me like factually about like just get into the theory, because I would love to know all of the things you know.
And so and the brain's actually changing all the time in response to new information, new experiences that we're having. And so this is when the synaptic connections in the brain are either making new connections or embedding pathways that already exist in a deeper way. Or you never lose a neural pathway as such unless there's an injury. But you can override them. So if you're trying to change a habit, for example, you're not going to lose the habit that you originally had, but you can make a different habit more automatic and stronger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the brain doesn't lose neural pathways very easily because you don't want to have to relearn something every time you do it. Like if we had to remember how to ride a bike, or like relearn how to ride a bike every time we wanted to get on a bike, that would be so inefficient. So the brain really remembers everything.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to change something, change a habit, learn something new, you're not going to forget everything you already learned, but you can make those things that you're trying to bring in stronger and more automatic and more habitual just by doing it consistently over time, through practice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what are the ways that just, is there a change going on for me just by placing myself in like a forest bathing setting, let's just say? Like what is changing and what's going on up there?
Yeah. Well, and this is huge. This is a huge subject because there's so many different ways that this can happen.
Yeah.
But certainly what I like to start with this is thinking, how can I wire my relationship to nature into my brain? Like, how can I fill my brain and my neurons and my synaptic connections with nature? Which is what we would have had as humans for a very long time. And that really would be how it is, or would have been how it was until we became so disconnected. And so this can be a lot of different things. This can be learning a lot about nature. So this is like how you start to do pattern recognition. So you can notice, like, the red oak leaf is different than the white oak leaf. You start to notice these like subtle differences and these patterns in nature. So you start to build neural pathways around those kinds of things. So that's one way that you can do it, is just learning about nature and becoming more adept at noticing these really subtle differences in the natural world. It's also a lot to do with our nervous system. So nature is very powerful for how we can increase our capacity to become regulated. There's a lot of effects that happen in the brain and the nervous system through being in nature that really calm us down and help us come into a parasympathetic state. A lot of different ways that happens, but certainly through sensory connection. It's really good for triggering a parasympathetic state.
So is it because there is like a really immersive sensory experience going on when you place yourself into nature, that you have, you've got sound, and you've got these like natural sounds that the body and like your DNA knows so well. Yeah. But you've got the like I don't know, the senses of just like whatever the weather is, whatever the all of those things.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And when it comes to nervous system tending or nervous system regulation, a sensory focus is much more powerful than trying to think your way out of activation. So the body actually, what we're sensing is what is going to indicate to us whether we feel safe or not. And no matter how many times you tell yourself, I'm safe, everything's okay, that's never going to be as effective as physically connecting with things that make you feel safe. That's why it's quite a common thing now to be like, if you're feeling really stressed or activated or anxious, name one thing you can see, one thing you can taste, that kind of thing.
There.
Yes,
for sure.
Because 80% of the signals between the brain and the body are coming from the body to the brain. It's bottom up, and it's much less efficient to try and think your body into a calm state than it is for your body to feel safe through sensory connection and calm your brain down. So nature's great for that because there's so many cues in nature that can help us feel safe. Bird song, for example, is really important. It really activates the auditory sense to help us feel calmer. Certain bird song, feeling like the smoothness of a rock or a leaf, or even the color, or like the clouds drifting across the sky, the light glittering on water. If you really immerse yourself in those sensory experiences, you can really bring yourself into a parasympathetic state in as fast as like 5 minutes through that, which is huge, right? For people that really struggle with like anxiety, depression, stress, this kind of thing, that's huge. It's like a practice you can do that has no side effects. It's free. It's really good for you, and it can work very, very fast.
Right. And so when you have, you're on Zoom and you're going through these theory aspects, and you kind of, I guess, maybe set whoever you're talking to up to go out into nature and to start doing these things, do you feel like you have any recommendations of things you would like them to do, or do you just allow them to just do whatever they were going to do in nature? Like, do you say to them, go and interact with the leaves that you see, like touch them, feel them? Is that something that comes up, or do you leave it really open-ended for them to discover whatever they would discover?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of both. I like to offer invitations, but then aside from that, it's going to be what they're uniquely called to. Because, and that's another really important piece of it, is that you really want to focus in on what is calling to you and what is grabbing your attention, because that's the piece that's for you, you know?
Yeah.
So if it's the color green that's really speaking to you, go for that.
Oh, you know? We love the color green.
Go for that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, or if it's the clouds, then go for that. It's what is it that's really grabbed your attention? And that's where you start building this unique relationship between yourself and nature, because it's like direct revelation. It's like it's your personal connection to this element of nature that has called out to you and grabbed your attention in some way, and now you get to bring your presence to it and your attention and be with it, and it has this really deep calming effect on your body. Although, with the caveat that nature isn't always safe.
Yeah, and that's, you know what, actually, that's like such a good point that you bring that up, because there's so many times when I've been in nature where I don't feel safe, you know, like, because stuff happens, like, of course, I've, like, ran into a bear once or twice in my life, and usually they're fine, like, it's not really, nothing ends up happening, knock on wood, whatever, you know, but it still throws you for a loop, you know, and so what, what do you feel like in that? So like, what do you think about that? Have you sent people on their have you sent people on their ecosomatic journey and then they ran into like a cougar,
like an avalanche?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what? Because sometimes, I think that it depends. Like if you're seeking out these things like healing, and I know for myself, like oftentimes I do feel very anxious and I do feel very hyper aware of what's going on around me, and I'm not always able to relax, even on just like a walk. I'm not always able to just like embrace where I am without maybe looking around and being a little nervous, depending on how I feel, you know, in my body. And so, what do you do for that person? What is your thoughts? What do you say to them?
Absolutely, because nature isn't always safe, and a lot of times isn't safe.
Yeah.
And even if it is safe, you can still feel really scared.
Yeah.
Because of the potential for things that can happen.
Well, there's there's like animal, not to interrupt, but there's like animal threat, but then as like a woman, like of course, you know, we have like men threat, you know, which anybody can have threat, you know, regardless of gender, but you just, you know, as a woman, sometimes you're like hyper aware of the guy that's walking beside you or whatever, you know, you're like, whoa, who's
100%.
this? Right.
No, 100%. Yeah, and where I live too, in Ontario, we have tornadoes. I mean, we have there's all kinds of things that are really sketchy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would say, first of all, you want to set yourself up for success. You want to put yourself in places that you can reasonably assume are safe. So, you know, and that's going to depend on your level of comfort, your level of knowledge about the ecosystem that you're in. You know, don't go off into the mountains if you don't know the ecosystem of the mountains, or if you have, you know, an injury or something. You really want to set yourself up for success. And if that means you're just sitting in your backyard with a plant for 20 minutes, then that's great. You know, you can do ecosomatics indoors. You can have a stone or a house plant, or you can look out of the window. The whole, when it comes to, you know, nervous system tending, we want to start with prioritizing safety, because you're not going to get anywhere with nervous system work if you're not starting from a point of really assessing what's my barometer of safety here, because that's what the body needs to be able to even relax into doing any of these practices in the first place. So definitely set yourself up for success as much as possible. If you feel like you're going to be really scared walking in the woods, don't do that for this practice. Start where you do feel safe, with an element of nature that is still very accessible to you, and see what your tolerance is over time. You know, it might be different times of the year are more or less accessible in certain places. It's so unique to your own level of tolerance and the ecosystem that you're in. But certainly we want to start by prioritizing safety.
Right. Yeah. And do you feel like through your own learning of just people's you know, experiences and them sharing with you what they experienced, what they went through, whatever it is, how much has what you offer changed? Like, I'm sure that you've probably taken away things or added things, because I think that's kind of what always ends up happening. You're like, well, this would be beneficial if I kept this, or you know, has it shifted at all?
Well, yeah, actually, when I first started doing this work, something I was really interested in was actually nature communication, like how we can hear nature speaking to us through our bodies. But over time, I realized that hasn't been people's main interest.
Okay.
People have been really a lot more interested in the nervous system piece.
Yeah.
So I've really tailored my work way more to the science and the practice
Okay.
of that.
Right.
Even though initially I was really, and still am, really interested
Yeah.
in nature communication.
Why do you think that is? Is it just like more tangible or like more of a hot topic right now to like talk about nervous system work than what the other offering was?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know, but I think you're right. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's more tangible for sure. It's more something solid that you
Yeah.
can be like, because it's very vague to speak about nature communication.
yeah.
It's like,
okay, but I think you need to expand upon that because like what? Tell me about that. That sounds very interesting. Like I feel like I'm more interested in that. Yeah. Please tell me what that means to you or what that looks like.
Yes. So, and again, people are going to have different takes on this.
Yeah,
but for myself, it's exploring the embodied response that I'm having to an element of nature, and then I'm bringing that up into my cognitive awareness to make meaning out of it. So I'll receive the embodied response. I'll be like, okay, I can feel this in my body here. It feels like this, like it feels like a pressure or a heaviness. You can have that somatic vocabulary around the felt sensation, but then we bring it up to the cognitive mind to make sense out of it.
Yeah.
And this is where we start to hear what nature is saying to us. So, and it works so well. If you have like something that you're struggling with, a decision that you're trying to make, a question that you have, you can take that into nature and do this process to get really practical, like tangible guidance on those things through this meaning-making process of embodied sensation.
Right.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, what's wrong with people? Why aren't we doing this?
It's really cool.
Yeah, it is really
It's
cool.
really interesting.
Right.
And I've been doing this for a really long time, and I do it all the time for everything. Like whenever, that's the first thing I go to if I'm like struggling with something. I'm like, well, I'm off to the woods to figure this out.
Yeah, for sure. But it sounds very much like a meditation where like you're kind of like being present in this space, feeling into what's there, and then waiting for whatever messages to kind of come. There's like an aspect that's very meditative there.
Yes,
right.
It is, because you have to be really present with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can't be distracted or thinking about something else. You have to really be present with that experience, which is with nature and with your body. Yeah.
And why do you think that like what happened that was like the shift out of that was just like the aspect that people wanted to talk about the nervous system more, and maybe that wasn't do you feel like it wasn't accessible for everybody to like tap into that? Yeah,
I still don't really know why, but the nervous system piece has been received a lot more widely. And yeah, I think I think what you're saying, it's more tangible. It's something you can really like define, and you can understand that concept very easily. It's like and also because it is very not trendy, but like it is a big area of focus for people these days, the nervous system and somatic work. So, and also the back to nature movement as well. So those two things together, it is kind of like very current and relevant right now as like an upcoming field, I think. And also because it's like a specific skill set. So I think I get a lot of people that work in some form of healing or coaching that are really interested in ecosomatics, because it's another way to work with clients. Like it's a specific skill set that you can bring to, I don't know, all kinds of things, like, Reiki practitioners, somatic practitioners, forest bathing guys, even, therapists, social workers. There's a really wide application for it.
Yeah, and I think this is why healing, from most of our perspectives at this point, has to be this kind of little bit more of an all-encompassing experience than just like one form of healing. There's like so many ways to approach, ways to like make yourself kind of mend certain areas of your life that you want to work with, and like that just maybe talk therapy by itself just doesn't fully touch on all the time, And I've heard, like, I've done a lot of talk therapy in my life, and it's been beneficial, but I've also heard a lot of things about talk therapy that it just kind of keeps you in that place of, like, reliving the situation, reliving the trauma, and not always actually moving through and properly processing it, just cognitively, and I had done quite a lot of EMDR last year, and that was such a great form of therapy to, like, actually be able to process whatever the trauma was, whatever it was, and just like move it through my body and kind of get it quote unquote gone, instead of just talking about it, like keeping it so present, And so you find do you find what you're offering allows people to like really process in a completely different way?
I think it has the potential to do that.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, because I'm not currently a licensed mental health practitioner at all, so I'm not treating or diagnosing at all with ecosomatics. It's purely education with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is one of the criticisms of just talking about things, is that you're actually strengthening the neural pathways of that particular story.
Yeah.
So if you're going back into that trauma and repeating that story over and over again, you're actually strengthening that pathway, which can make it worse.
Right.
But I think it's still good to be able to tell your story. For some people, sometimes people will never have had their story received in a compassionate way before. Yeah. And you need, like, that's something we really need, is to have our traumas and our stories received by a compassionate witness. And so talk therapy is very, very powerful for that.
Yes.
But when it comes, to embodied change, to feeling different in your body, we do need to bring in that somatic piece and do that somatic work, which you can't just do by talking about it over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of potential for that, even though that's not specifically what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you speak about embodiment, like, what would be the, I don't know, what would be like the feeling or the definition, or like the outward reflection of feeling embodied, you know, through the work that you're doing, or just in general as a being?
Again, I think it's having this presence with yourself. So it's turning your attention inwards to what's happening in your body. Yeah. But even before that, some people really need time and support with that, because it can be very difficult for people to turn the light inside as well, because sometimes we're dealing with so much trauma, so much pain, that it's actually really scary and doesn't feel safe to go into the body. Yeah. You really have to see where people are at before, you know, it is a piece that needs to be addressed first before going into this work. It's like, is it okay? Because it can be very distressing sometimes for people to go into the body as well.
Right. And that's something, as a teacher of yoga, that came up for me a lot. And like, we get a lot of, I don't know, we get a lot of like spiritual bypassing and like whatever in our work, you know. We get a lot of people that think that one thing is the answer, and that people need to meditate. Like, there's a lot of people out there that will always just say, well, do you meditate? Are you meditating? Are you sitting there and are you meditating? And I remember there was so many times in my life, and just for people that I've met or know or whatever, that are really in this heightened place of anxiousness or worry or panic or whatever, you know. And there's been so many times where, you know, I was in a place of panic, and people have suggested to me, you know, well, are you meditating, or have you tried to like sit and breathe and kind of meditate on that? And I'm like, this is very unsafe up here right now. Like, this is not a place that you want to be alone in silence. It's not the only answer on like how to handle what I'm experiencing. And going alone by myself in here is like actually gonna make me way worse off. Yeah. If I did go and like see a friend for a walk in nature. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so I find that sometimes there's like a little bit of a harm that gets done in some of these worlds and industries when they kind of suggest this thing, and they're not really coming from an approach where they really have actual, I don't know, like some sort of grounds to go off of, that they think that suggestion's fair. Yeah. You know? Yeah. You have to be really clear about your scope of practice. Yeah. You have to be really clear. And you have to be able to provide the appropriate supportive container for that kind of work. You do, right? Because like it can feel very unsafe for people to do these kinds of practices, depending on where they're coming from, experiences they've had, even unexpectedly. You might think you're all good to go, and then something comes up, and you're like, "Oh my goodness!" Yes. And you're like, "Whoa!" Like knocked off course by that. And so you know, a lot of our past experiences literally live in the tissues of the body, right? As you would know through yoga and right. So there is that element of having to be really careful around that, or trauma informed, right? That it all comes down to that, and like, how can we make these experiences as safe and manageable and tolerable for people as possible if they want to do this. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And when you hold this container for whoever is, you know, working with you, how long is that held for? Is it like a couple week thing that you kind of move through this time with them, or how does that look? Yeah, so it depends on the different nature of what I'm offering. I just ran a program in October, November, which was 7 weeks. So we met every 7 weeks. There was always the option to come live. Nice. Yeah, it was nice. So nice. Yeah. There was always the option to come to the live sessions. And I had often
office hours as well if people wanted to check in about stuff that had come up personally.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. You know, like, do you make yourself more accessible to whoever's in the, in that program for that time?
Yes, I do. But again, within my scope. So if something's coming up that I know I can't support people with, then I will do my best to help them find referrals. Because I'm not qualified to do everything that everyone's experiencing.
Right.
And I'm in an education role. So I'll support as much as I can. But yeah, it's just knowing, for me, knowing my scope of practice has been like very critical in bringing this body of work in.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a big aspect, because I think sometimes there's like an overconfidence to whoever's offering certain things, and then also an aspect of danger comes into this, where it's just it's like beautiful to hear that you're like, I know my I know my scope, and like I am not qualified to handle this type of thing, because I've had people come to me for, they were like just yoga students that would just come to my Zoom classes when I was hosting them or whatever, and then they would come to me with their very intense, big stuff, big feelings, and I'm like, I don't even know I don't know what to do with this. I'm so sorry, like I can't help you. But I think sometimes people kind of put you in that, I don't know, they've come to you before for support and help, or like they see you as like a guide, and they're like, okay, well how can you help me?
Yes.
And you're like, I don't know how. Yeah. I'm so sorry, like I'll try, but I don't know. Like and you don't want to like lead anybody down the wrong path. It's just like so harming. Yeah. Right?
But clarity is kindness. So I feel like as long as I start off from that point of being like, this is what I'm here to offer, I'm pretty clear about that at the beginning of what I'm doing.
The right way. Yeah, that's nice to hear.
So, yeah.
Right.
And I'm here as much as possible to support as much as I can. Mm-hmm. But if it comes to the point that it's something bigger, something more distressing, then let's see what other supports are out there.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And it all comes down to safety, right? Because this is what we're working with, is we're building our cues for safety when it comes to nervous system work.
Right.
A lot of the time.
Yeah, so I think it would be very unproductive to pull back and create a lack of safety and trust.
Yes.
Between you and them. Yes. For sure.
Yeah, and so much of this work, whether it's therapy, somatics, somatic education, anything, it really comes down to the relationship that you have with a person. I think it's been shown recently that the biggest predictor of success in therapy is the relationship between the client and the therapist. Yeah. It's not the modality that they're using, it's not CBT, or it's the relationship. And it's if you feel that you can be vulnerable with that person, that you can trust that person to hold the space.
Well, and it sounds so simple, but you've heard it so many times in your life, or even for yourself, when you have signed up to talk to a new therapist and then you sit down with them for the first time and you're like, I don't like them,
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. It's like, well, of course I'm not going to open up to them about all my deepest, darkest, concerns and worries and whatever, It's like, well, you don't feel a good energy exchange between you two. Yeah. There has to be that foundation of safety.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And trust. Yeah, exactly. Right. And that can take time to build that, but you have to just do as much as you can with that, but we're still human, and then
yeah, for sure. So what do you see for yourself? Like, what does the future look like for you, Robyn? What does it look like? Do you want to write a book? What do you want to do? What does the path kind of look like? What is the next year and a bit, 2 years even really? What do you envision? Do you envision being, in the same kind of roughly place where you're like, this is what I want to do and offer? Or do you see, I don't know, something that's like ever expanding?
No, thanks for that question. That's nice for me to have the opportunity to speak that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is just, it's the foundations of nature and the nervous system.
Okay.
That's what it is. And I've had to get really clear on this, because I'm someone that typically has like a million different ideas and different things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And
I get it.
And my goal for 2026 was to just focus on one thing, like build one thing, because that's something I really struggle with. I'll be like, this, and then nothing actually happens because it's too diffuse. So that's my 2026 goal, is I want to really put everything into this one body of work, get that out there, and grow that. Yes.
Okay. Beautiful.
And that's what's coming.
Right.
I ran, like I said, in the autumn, I ran like a pilot version of this program, which was super helpful in getting clear about these different concepts of nature and the nervous system. So I'm looking at how to refine that and bring it into the world.
Yeah, because sometimes I think you have to do these test runs sometimes where you just kind of get it going and you're like, okay, but then now what does it need for further refinement or even your own understanding of what you want to do? Because, I don't know, sometimes when you put together offerings, you start to discover that it needs this other thing, or whatever you thought was going to be good wasn't actually the right thing,
It is, yeah. And it's all like, because it's not just about, the work I want to do in the world, it's also what is received and needed by the world. Like, what is it that people, because,
Right. Yeah, that was a big thing.
Needed?
I've heard that so many times from people that were, maybe my teachers or something like that. They're like, yeah, it's a lot to do, of course, with what you feel in your heart and what you want to give, but also, like, what needs to be, or, like, wants to be received by whoever is, part of, part of your email list, I guess, like, what do they want? What does the people want? What does the collective want, know? And having to tune into, like, kind of a mix, because I think you need to honor what you want to do, but at the same time, like, make it work for them,
Exactly.
It's gonna be tough balance.
Yeah, and it's not always exactly the same thing.
No.
But it's cool, because you get to play with that, and there's so much richness when you realize how you can be of service with the thing that you love, even if it's not exactly the thing.
Right.
But there's so much richness in that in between. It's like, okay, where do these things meet and what does that look like?
Right.
So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, that's actually it's so true. It's so true. Do you feel like you have any favorite facts to share with us about about, I don't know, just about nature in general, or the brain, or the body, or the nervous system? Is there anything that you even have discovered in the last little while that you're like, oh, whoa, that's amazing?
Well, the brain is just it's so fascinating how the brain works. And the more that I've gone into somatic work and learned more about the brain, the more I'm just like, what is happening? It's incredible. Yeah. And I think the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that is just how adaptable the brain is. Like, we can change so much in our life. We have so much power over how we create our lives and the way we see the world and the person that we want to become, because of how plastic the brain is. We can do so much. And I think one of the things that I'm really grappling with right now, I'm like, is that you can use the brain to change itself. So the thoughts that you think can actually change the physical structure of the brain. So you can affect the physical matter of your tissues through thought. And that's a place where I'm at right now. Yeah. It's like this intangible thing, consciousness, thought, awareness, can change the physical structure of your body.
Yeah, right.
And then and it feeds these two things feed each other, because you change the structure of your brain, and that will make the thoughts become stronger too. Like the things that you build within so you can be so intentional. And the way I'm thinking about it is like the brain is a garden, and we get to cultivate it, we get to tend it, we get to grow the things we want to grow, we get to pull up the things that we don't want in our lives anymore. And this idea of the brain being like a garden for me is very alive for me right now. Yeah,
that makes sense. And I've seen some things or heard some things about how the brain doesn't know the difference between like whatever reality you're kind of creating for it. So like similar to, of course, things like manifestation, it's like if you envision, some sort of life that you want for yourself, or that you already have the thing you're hoping to achieve or do, it doesn't really know the difference of that being like true or not. So you might as well hope for the best and spend your energy with like some kind of more worthwhile positive thought than something that kind of takes you down this deep dark rabbit hole.
And it changes the whole body, because if you put things like that in place, like you're thinking, you're bringing in the vision of yourself that you want to become, or you're thinking positive, whatever these things are, this is going to actually have effect on like how your body works, like the hormonal cascade and your metabolism and your immune system. You can really garden yourself with these intangible thoughts and awareness. I don't know, and being guided by nature in that is really important for me, because nature is the blueprint for beauty and abundance.
And I think like sometimes it feels like, now I think more so, especially whatever circles we're running in, you and I, like I would imagine, but the body is, you know, it's one unit, it's one system, it all works together, you know, because like, you know, sometimes you go to the GP and you have like a problem with your wrist, you know, and they're like, well, like it's your wrist, you know, but then when you go to someone who's maybe like a bit more holistic, they're like, oh yeah, well it's coming from your shoulder and this is what's kind of affecting it and why your wrist is acting up or whatever, you know, and so there's this kind of disconnection that goes on in like Western medicine where they're just viewing the body as kind of parts and nothing is connected and nothing is related. And even sometimes when you talk to your GP, you're like, well, I'm also feeling this sensation, but I don't know if it's related. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, well, it might be. You know, I'm like, well, it is just all one system.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's very similar to, you know, it's beautiful that what you said earlier in the episode just about how you weren't just observing nature, you were really feeling that you were part of that system. You were not separate from that, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, in our teachings, of course, it's just like a big aspect of oneness in yoga, you know? Like we're all just like one with everything that lives and breathes, you know? And,
yeah.
It sounds like a very similar experience, and this is why I just find like all the practices, all of the knowledge, all of the like deep ancient wisdom, even some of the you know, more kind of religious practices, they're all like rooted in a lot of the exact same thing at the end of the day. Like there's a lot of parallels between what you're speaking about in ecosomatics and like yoga. I'm like, yeah, there's like a oneness, there's like a tuned in aspect.
Yeah.
You know, there's a healing aspect, there's a rewiring of the brain, there's choosing to follow a more positive path, positive thought, you know, and you know, working to find whatever peace you need to find within yourself, right? So
yeah,
it's funny how it is.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense, and it's all relational too.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, like these thoughts aren't separate, either within ourselves and within the web of relationships we're part of outside of ourselves too.
Right.
It's all relational.
Yeah.
And it's all communication. Like all.
Yeah. It's all like feedback for you to receive, basically, you know. And so like sometimes I feel that the energy of the day, if I feel myself that the energy of the day is a little bit more hectic, and I talk to a few people that I know or friends or whatever, they will also on average be having a bit more of a hectic day. I've just noticed that like sometimes even collectively, you know, if the day feels like pretty positive and calm and whatever, most of the people I know have had like a pretty positive, on average, like calm day. There's something about it, you know?
Yeah, the field.
The
field.
yeah, the vibes. Like, yeah, the vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything you feel like that needs to be shared? Do you feel like there's anything you missed or that we didn't get?
I think something that I really find important with my work is, and I know I spoke to this before, but just to really make the point of that is to really honor these experiences that we have in nature. A lot of us will go through our lives having this yearning to be in this deeper relationship with some aspect of our universe, whether it's religion, whether it's like a movement practice, whatever it is. And for many of us, it's hard for us to find what that is because we might not fit into like a more organized religion or something like that. But we still have this yearning for this deeper meaning and this need to be devoted to something. And so when people find nature connection, that can be the missing piece for them. You know, like having this really deep spiritual connection to nature can be that piece. And something I just really love to offer through this work is just really validating that and offering the space for people who have had these really profound experiences in nature, who experience these like deeply transformational insights and these pieces of integration of understanding who we are through being in relationship with the natural world. I really want to cultivate the space for that and honor those experiences. Yeah. And so anyone that's having these experiences with nature, I just want to say, like, it's so valid. It's so valid, and your experiences are sacred and to be honored. And there are circles in the world where you can bring these experiences and have them really honored and taken really seriously. Yeah. Because I feel like that's the core of it, is like, that's where we're all at, right? It's like, what is the meaning of who I am and why I'm here? Yes. And nature, somatic nature connection, it's so potent for finding some answers there. Yeah, and I think can move through complexity and, you know, a lot of different layers and things like that, but also at the same time very simple and
and approachable. Like it doesn't always take a lot.
Yes.
You know, like sometimes it just takes like sitting in your backyard.
Yeah.
And taking a better breath and being with like bird song and things like that. You know, and it seems like sometimes there's an overcomplication of things.
100%.
Right.
And you can cause changes in the body within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. It's
right.
just, which is, you know.
Yeah. So I guess your takeaway or suggestion to be for someone that just wanted to start would be what? I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like there's a 5-minute aspect to it.
I like it's funny because it's like 5 minutes. Do this practice in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
you set the timer.
It's like the shopping channel or something. But I would say, first of all, any time you spend doing this is better than not doing it at all. So if it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes, that's better than not doing it at all.
Okay.
Do what you can. I'm busy. I have 3 kids. I'm a single parent.
Yeah.
Sometimes finding 5 minutes in a week is hard to do.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
But find the time you can. Go to whatever part of nature is accessible to you. Whether it's sitting like by your window or sitting on your front porch or just like standing on the back deck for a couple of minutes. Do that, whatever is accessible. You don't have to get out into like the mountains or Lake Louise. Like you can be on your doorstep.
Right.
And just notice which part of nature is grabbing your attention. Just that it's infinite. You look out, there's so many things going on. Which part is grabbing your attention? Is it a color? Is it a movement? Is it a sound? Is it the interplay of light? Is it the warmth on your skin? What is it? And then just spend however much time you have just becoming very present with that sensory experience that you're having.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
honor.
has been
Thank
so
you.
good. Yeah, thank you for being here and for your time and sharing all of this wonderful knowledge that feels so crucial and important for us to be connecting with. It's a gift to sit down with you and to share time with you and even to follow you and to read what you're sharing and to see what you're doing and it just feels like some of the good work in the world that like has to be done, you know. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And it goes both ways. It's such an honor to meet you and spend this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.